Comparative biology. So, for my introduction, the major system that I would be focusing on would be the circulatory system. So, the circulatory system mainly focuses on carrying oxygen, nutrients, and hormones to cells throughout their body and to remove waste products from their body and from their cells as well. So, the three phyla that I chose would be the sponge or the peripheral phylum, the sea star or the echinodermata phyla, and the hydra or the cnidaria phylum. So first off, for the sponge or from the peripheral phylum, it does not have a definitive circulatory system. So instead, sponges mainly rely on maintaining a constant water flow through their bodies. So it's more likely of a water-based circulatory system. They use their flagellated cells they have to create a water current through the openings of the sponge's body. So in that case, it'd be the sponge's pores that it has, and it uses those pores to move the water flow throughout its body. So a few comparisons would be that in comparison to sea stars, the circulatory system that is used is mainly water-based. And in comparison to hydras and sea stars, they do not pump blood throughout their bodies, mainly because none of them have the same parts that other traditional circulatory systems would have. So, a few differences would be that sponges do not have a definitive circulatory system, while the other two phyla do. And sponges do not use anything else besides their pores for the movement of water. So, next we have the sea stars or the Echinodermata phyla. So for that one, it's a very unusual circulatory system. It's a very uncommon one. So that one, it uses a water vascular system in order to keep things moving throughout their bodies. So to do that, it has a network of fluid-filled canals that can be used for gas exchange, feeding, and movement. So the feeding would be in which the circulatory system comes to play as it's getting its nutrients throughout the body. And it also does not have a true heart and blood that runs through the body. A few comparisons would be that in comparison with sponges, the circulatory system is water based. So, although the sponge, for example, doesn't have a true circulatory system, the one that would be considered its circulatory system, it is a water based, similar to the sea stars. So, a difference would be that sea stars use their tube feet in their circulatory system process. So next we have the hydra or the cnidaria phylum. So hydras have very similar circulatory systems to that of a jellyfish, which also happens to be in the cnidaria phylum. So it's usually one of the more simpler circulatory systems compared to any other ones. They have a fluid-filled gastrovascular cavity in which nutrients get absorbed. So when water enters the cavity, the hydra gets oxygen from the water and gets rid of the carbon dioxide. So it uses the carbon dioxide as the waste product in the scenario, and it gets rid of it. A few comparisons would be that all the phyla that I chose, they lack specialized organs, such as a heart or vessels, and also blood in this case, which is carried through the vessels and the heart. And none of them have true circulatory systems, but rather alternative types of circulatory systems that get nutrients and or water. Mainly, they use water systems in order to do so. So, a difference would be that hydras use their gastrovascular cavity in their circulatory system process, unlike the other two phylas mentioned. So, the other two phylas don't use their gastrovascular cavity throughout their circulatory system. So, sponges would use their pores in order to get the water around, and the Echinodermata or the sea stars would use another process. So that one would use the water vascular, and the hydras use the gastrovascular cavity. So for the conclusion, overall, there's a number of differences and similarities among the different phyla that were chosen. So each one does involve marine life. So it is underwater animals that, for the most part. So Water is the main source of their circulatory system. It's what is spread throughout the body and travels throughout the body and is considered a circulatory system. So, although they do have a lot in common, there are also a number of differences.